I also use AI all day long. In fact, I'm already at the point where if you took it away from me, I'd be like, oh my God, how do we even look things up on the internet anymore? Is Stack Overflow still around? Are forums still a thing? Like, how do I even find answers to some of these questions I have all day long? I don't want to give up AI. In fact, I'd say the way I like to use AI, I'm getting smarter every day because of AI, because I'm using AI to have it explain things to me, even stupid questions. I would be a little embarrassed to even enter into Google. AI is perfectly willing to give me the ELI5 explanation of some Unix command I should have known already, but I don't. I'm sorry. Can you just explain it to me? And now I know the thing. So at the end of the day of me working with AI all day long, I'm a little bit smarter, like 5%. Sorry, not 5%, 0.5%, maybe. That compounds over time. But what I've also seen when I worked on the Omiku project and I tried to let AI drive for me, I felt I was maybe 0.5% dumber at the end of the day.
Okay, you said a lot of interesting things. First of all, let's just start with the very fact that asking dumb questions. If you go to Stack Overflow and ask a dumb question, or read somebody else's dumb question and the answer to it, there's a lot of judgment there.
Yes.
AI, sometimes to an excessive degree, has no judgment. It usually says, oh, that's a great question.
To a fault.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. I mean, it's so conducive to learning. It's such a wonderful tool for learning, and I too would miss it. And it's a great, basically, search engine into all kinds of nuances of a particular programming language, especially if you don't know it that well. Or like APIs, you can load in documentation. It's just so great for learning. For me personally, on the happiness scale, it makes me more excited to program. I don't know what that is exactly. Part of that is I'm really sorry, Stack Overflow is an incredible website, but there is a negativity there.
Yes.
There's a judgment there. It's just exciting to be with a hype man next to me, just like saying, "Yeah, that's a great idea," and I'll say, "No, that's wrong." I'll correct the AI, and and the AI will say, "You're absolutely right. How did I not think about that?" Rewrite the code. I'm like, "Holy shit!" It's like a buddy that's like really being positive and is very smart and is challenging me to think. And even if I never use the code it generates, I'm already a better programmer. But actually, the deeper thing is, for some reason, I'm having more fun. That's a really, really important thing.
I like to think of it as a pair programmer for exactly that reason. Pair programming came of vogue in like the 2000s, where you'd have two programmers in front of one machine and you'd push the keyboard between you. One programmer would be driving, they'd be typing in. The other programmer would essentially sit and watch the code, suggest improvements, look something up. That was a really interesting dynamic. Now, unfortunately, I'm an introvert, so I can do that for about 5 minutes before I want to jump off a bridge. So it doesn't work for me as a full-time occupation. But AI allows me to have all the best of that experience all the time. Now, I think what's really interesting what you said about it makes it more fun. I hadn't actually thought about that. But what it's made more fun to me is to be a beginner again. It made it more fun to learn Bash successfully for the first time. Now, I had to do the detour where I let it write all the code for me, and I realized I wasn't learning nearly as much as I hoped I would, and that I started doing once I typed it out myself. But it gave me the confidence that, you know what, if I need to do some iOS programming myself, I haven't done that in probably 6 years, was the last time I dabbled in it. I never really built anything for real. I feel highly confident now that I could sit down with AI and I could have something in the App Store by the end of the week. I would not have that confidence unless I had a pair programming buddy like AI. I don't actually use it very much for Ruby code. I'm occasionally impressed whenever I try it. Like, oh, it got this one thing right. That is truly remarkable. And it's actually pretty good. Yeah. And then I'll ask it two more questions and I go like, yeah, okay. If you were my junior programmer, I'd start tapping my fingers and going like, you gotta shape up. Now, the great thing, of course, is we can just wait 5 minutes. The Anthropic CEO seems to think that 90% of all code by the end of the year is going to be written by AI. I'm more than a little bit skeptical about that, but I'm open-minded about the prospect that programming potentially will turn into a horse when done manually. something we do recreationally. It's no longer a mode of transportation to get around LA. You're not going to saddle up and go to the grocery store and pick up stuff from Whole Foods in your saddlebags. That's just not a thing anymore. That could be the future for programming, for manual programming. Entirely possible. I also don't care. Like, even though we have great renditions of all the best songs, as I said, there are millions of people who love to play the guitar. It may no longer have as much economic value as it once did. I think that I'm quite convinced is true, that we perhaps have seen the peak. Now, I understand the paradox when the price of something goes down, actually the overall usage goes up and total spend on that activity goes up. That could also happen, maybe. But what we're seeing right now is that a lot of the big shops, a lot of the big companies are not hiring like they were 5 years ago. They're not anticipating they're going to need tons more programmers. Controversially, Toby actually put out a memo inside of Shopify asking everyone who's considering hiring someone to ask the question, could this be done by AI? Now, he's further ahead on this question than I am. I look at some of the coding trenches and I go like, I'd love to use AI more, and I see how it's making us more productive, but it's not yet at the level where I just go like, oh, we have this project, let me just give it to the AI agent, and it's going to go off and do it.
But let's just be honest. You're like a Clint Eastwood type character, cowboy on a horse, seeing cars going around. And you're like, well,
that's part of it, and I think it is important to have that humility. That what you are good at may no longer be what society values. This has happened a million times in history, that you could have been exceptionally good at saddle making, for example. That's something that a lot of people used to care about because everyone rode a horse. And then suddenly riding a horse became this niche hobby that there's still people who care about it, but not nearly as many. That's okay. Now, the other thing of this is I've had the good fortune to have been a programmer for nearly 30 years. That's a great run. I try to look at life in this way, that I've already been blessed with decades of economically viable, highly valuable ways of translating what I like best in the working world to write Ruby code, that was so valuable that I could make millions and millions of dollars doing it. And if that's over tomorrow, I shouldn't look at that with regret. I should look at it with gratitude.
But you're also a highly experienced, brilliant, and opinionated human being. So it's really interesting to get your opinion on the future of the horse, because there's a lot of young people listening to this who love programming or who are excited by the possibility of building stuff with software, with Ruby on Rails, that kind of language. And now the possibility.
But is it a career?
Is it a career? And how, if indeed a single person can build more and more and more with the help of AI, like, how do they learn that skill? Is this a good skill to learn? I mean, that to me is the real mystery here, because I think it's still absolutely true that you have to learn how to program from scratch currently.
Yes.
But how do you balance those two skills? Because I too, as I'm thinking now, there is a scary slipping away of skill that happens in a matter of like really minutes on a particular piece of code. It's scary. Not the way driving, when you have a car drive for you, it doesn't quite slip away that fast. So that really scares me. So when somebody comes up to me and asks me like, how do I learn to program? I don't know what the advice is, because I think it's not enough to just use Cursor or Copilot to generate code.
It's absolutely not enough. Not if you want to learn. Not if you want to become better at it. If you just become a tap monkey, maybe you're productive in a second, but then you have to realize, well, can anyone just tap? If that's all we're doing is just sitting around all day long tapping, yes, 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 that's not a marketable skill. Now, I always preface this both to myself and when I speak to others about it, is rule number one, nobody fucking knows anything. No one can predict even 6 months ahead. Right now, we're probably at peak AI future hype because we see all the promise, because so much of it is real and so many people have experienced it themselves. This mind-boggling thing that the silicon is thinking in some way that feels eerily reminiscent of humans. I'd actually say the big thing for me wasn't even ChatGPT. It wasn't even Claude. It was DeepSeek. Running DeepSeek locally and seeing the think box where it converses with itself about how to formulate the response, I almost want to think, is this a gimmick? Is it doing this as a performance for my benefit, but that's not actually how it thinks? If this is how it actually thinks, okay, I'm a little scared.
Yeah.
This is incredibly human how it thinks in this way.
Yeah.